One bet for every single fight at UFC 315 in Montreal, Canada. If you're new here, I'm not breaking down these fights. I'm not trying to predict winners and all of that stuff that everybody on YouTube is doing right now. I'm going through each fight and I'm giving you one bet that I think is going to hit. I'm letting the guts hang out on the table. I'll stand behind the wins. I'll stand behind the losses if they lose. Man, there's hundreds of pages right now on YouTube and social media just breaking down the fights in the same exact way. They're regurgitating the same info. You're just getting the same info with a different voice at this point. So we're trying to stand out and be different, letting it all hang out, giving you an actual bet that I'm actually putting money behind. And so far, we're absolutely crushing this through the first 3 weeks of the show. Last week, we hit some good plays. We called out Jillian TKO, although the official play was Robertson Marina inside the distance, plus 105. Quang Lee, plus 122. Peterson is a parlay piece. Jones Steven over a round and a half. Series City, Montel Jackson, and Corey Sandhagen inside the distance at plus 230. It's been a lot of fun. Now, I do have my premium bets, the ones I'm absolutely hammering, the ones I'm tracking. So far, we're up over 17 units on the year, and you can get those bets at winnable.com/HOF picks. Use code Canada this week to get a free trial and see all of my bets and Hey Jive Picks bets completely free. I'm falling in love with this show, man, and it seems like a lot of you like it as well. I just started YouTube in January, and my views were averaging like 400, 500, 600, 700 views on a very good week. My video last week at Iowa, 7.7 thousand views, massive jump. So I appreciate you guys. And the one thing I've learned that I just carry over into my everyday life that you guys should too. When I started seeing success on social media and growing, now I've got over 100,000 followers on all platforms. I stopped giving a shit what people thought about me. I stopped caring if people from my hometown were going to see my content and think, I'm weird for wanting to be a creator, a content creator. But it's when I stopped truly caring what anybody thought. If I get hate comments, I don't give a shit. I look at them, I laugh, I might respond and joke back and forth with you. But at the end of the day, man, I could care less what anybody watching this thinks, if it's negative thoughts about me. And I've really learned to take that into my life too. Do everything with a purpose. Who gives a shit if anybody doesn't like it? It's your life. Build what you want. Try to build something meaningful, and that's the journey we're on. So shout out the sponsor of this show as well, BetUS. It's a sports book you can use in 49 of the 50 states here in the U.S. Your first deposit is matched up to 150% if you use the code that I'm going to link in the description. And your next two deposits after that are 125%. That's BetUS. Link is going to be down below with that code if you want some extra money to bet for UFC 315. Now, into the good stuff, what you guys are all here for. You're probably tired of me rambling on, so we're going to jump right into it. First fight on the card is Brad Katona versus Bekzat Almakhan. First thing that I noticed is, Almakhan's getting a ton of praise for his performance against Umar Nurmagomedov, and I think it's just because it was Umar that he was fighting, when in reality, the guy lost 30-26 on his scorecard. I think two scorecards was 30-26. The other one was 30-25, so Umar had a couple of 10-8s in there. But the only thing people remember from that fight is that Bekzat dropped Umar early in the fight with a big shot there. But it's going on from there. I think he landed less than like 10 significant strikes the rest of the fight. Is he talented? I think he is. He's 11-2. He's got some experience, not a ton. But, his striking is very powerful. My big thing, though, he just doesn't throw a ton of volume. He kind of waits and tries to fight like a sniper at time. He has good kicks. Like I said, he's very powerful. He has the ability to hurt people and find knockouts. The only problem is Brad Katona is tough to put away, man. The guy has gone through wars in the UFC and at the UFC level. He's never been submitted. He's never been knocked out, and he's been in there with good fighters. He's won the Ultimate Fighter twice. He lost to Gene Matsumoto by unanimous decision. That was a closer fight than a unanimous decision to me. I mean, if you have to go back and watch that one, but Brad Katona was fighting very well. Lost to Garrett Armfield in the same way. A lot of people thought he won that fight. And then he's beaten guys like Jesse Butler and Cody Gibson. Here's the thing for me. Do I think Bekzat should win the fight? I think he's going to be obviously more explosive. He's younger. He's fighting for a little bit more here. But, Brad Katona is just so well-rounded. He doesn't do anything great. He doesn't have big knockout power. Honestly, I think he has like one knockout in his career. But he throws a lot of volume. He's very durable. He can wrestle. He can put you against the cage and make you work. And I think that's the exact style he's going to bring to Bekzat. If he fights him at range, he's going to be at risk of getting clipped. If Brad Katona just makes it dirty, gets on the inside, pushes him against the cage, he's probably going to win some minutes. And that's a tiring pace to keep up with. Brad Katona has proved that he can keep up with that pace. Bekzat Almakhan, there's still a lot of unknowns about him. I mean, he just lost to Umar, had that one good 15 seconds worth of fighting, and now everybody's, all on board with him. I think there's a lot more to learn. Not saying he's going to be bad or he's going to lose this fight, but I just think from a betting standpoint, this is one you kind of sit back and watch and see what he is, see what he really is, because Brad Katona is a great opponent to figure that out on. My official play, if you have a book where you can bet spreads, Brad Katona plus 3.5 spread is what I'm going to be eyeing. That's going to be the official play. Now, what that means is that when you add up the judges' scorecards at the end of the fight, Brad Katona has to be within 3 points. So if he loses 29-28 across the board, he still wins. He can lose 29-28 is the least, and the bet still cashes. He can win. Basically just can't get finished and has to win one round on the judges' scorecard. So Brad Katona plus 3.5 spread, official play for the first fight on the card. Now, second fight is going to be a little bit more action-packed with a couple guys that are a little more dangerous in my opinion. The danger's going both ways here is Daniel Santos and Jung Lee. Daniel Santos, first of all, both these guys are 11-2. Neither one of them is going to have a big experience edge on the other. Daniel Santos, a guy we haven't seen since 2023, so almost 2 years now. That win was a unanimous decision over Johnny Munoz. If you know Johnny Munoz, he just pulls guard a lot. He's a jiu-jitsu guy, not much striking whatsoever. Before that, he beat John Castaneda, where he had to come from the depths of hell. The guy was basically finished, and John Castaneda just kind of ran out of gas, and Daniel Santos finished him. On the other side, though, Jung Lee. My thing I'll mention before I talk about him is that he's a pretty big guy for this weight class. He is super strong. It looks like he can grapple. He's 5'10", 73-inch reach. Compared to Daniel Santos, who's moving up a weight class, I don't think he's going to be as powerful. I don't think he's going to carry that power that he used to have at the lower weight classes. And, going up against the Jung Lee, yes, Lee just got finished by Hyder Emil, but Hyder Emil, I think, is the truth. Like, that's not a terrible loss. And that was just a firefight. Like, he had every chance to try to hurt and clip Emil. He was throwing in there. He's super game to throw down. I kind of like that about him. And it was a standing TKO. Like, yes, it was a good stoppage, but the dude is tough. Like, most people are dying to those shots. Before that, beats Blake Bilder, beats Yiza in a split decision, which was a close fight. A lot of people thought Yiza won. So the way I'm kind of seeing this right now is betting-wise, I think you probably missed the value, or you're getting ready to miss the value on this, because Jung Lee opened at like plus 120 or plus 130. I think that was a great number on him. Now he's minus 118. Santos off 2 years. Jung Lee very well rounded. He's got power in the hands. He can strike you from a distance too. He's pretty technical. But I also think in this matchup, I don't think Daniel Santos is going to have a big grappling advantage. He's going to have to pull guard or get him on the ground to have success and try to throw up arm bars and stuff like that. But if Jung Lee is on top, I think his control and his strength and his ground game is going to be good enough to keep that position, land ground and pound, and win minutes that way. And on the feet, I think either guy is live to clip the other. I could also just see this being an all-out war where neither guy can get it done. So I was really wanting to take an under here, but under 2.5 is minus 135. I don't really like that price. I'm going to go with the guy who's been more active, the bigger guy, the longer reach, the guy who hits hard too. So, yeah, I'm taking Jung Lee in the second fight of the night. That's going to be the official play. All right, next up, another banger. If one of these guys doesn't just quit and get finished, we're getting Marc-Andre Barriault versus Bruno Silva. I almost said Ferreira. Bruno Silva. I wish it was Bruno Ferreira. That'd be sick. But Marc-Andre Barriault has shown to have some chin issues as of recent. I mean, the UFC feeds him to Joe Pyfer. He gets knocked out. And then he gets knocked out by Dustin Stoltzfus, which isn't the best look. But at the end of the day, man, I think Dustin Stoltzfus is a little bit better of a fighter than people would give him credit for. He just ran into some super stiff competition. But, Marc-Andre is coming off of 2 knockout losses. Bruno Silva, what's he known for? He does have some power in his hand. The only thing with Bruno is he doesn't really look to be wanting to fight anymore. He's kind of talked about it. He doesn't like being in the cage. I don't like hearing any of that whatsoever, especially, a guy who's 35 years old. a guy who's on a 4-fight losing streak. One of those he got submitted by Brendan Allen. The other 3 were decision losses. I just think he's had it. I think he's fighting out a contract. I think he's trying to get paychecks. And on the other side, you got Marc-Andre, who is fighting in front of Canada. This guy bleeds Canada. Canadian fighter, home crowd, wants to win so badly for him. I think he's going to bite down on the mouthpiece and try to bring the fight to Bruno. He just can't get clipped in the process. He can't come in and get too reckless. He's got to mind his P's and Q's at all time, because even though Bruno has looked terrible, super low volume, he still is dangerous at times. And, we saw it against Brad Tavares in round number 1. Round number 1 is my big concern for Marc-Andre. If he gets past that 5-minute mark, I think Bruno starts to realize, shit, man, I really, really do not like fighting. I don't want to be in here. And he's going to stop throwing volume. His hands are going to drop. He's going to start eating damage. He's going to be huffing and puffing. He probably could survive to the final bell, which was why I don't like an under here. His last 3 fights have gone to a decision. But I just think the fighter who's going to be more game and the fighter who still wants it a little bit more, especially in front of the home crowd, is Marc-Andre Barriault. He's minus 140 right now. That's going to be the pick. That's going to be the play. Give me MAB in Canada for my 3rd play of the card. And I think he cashes, man. I think he's pumped up for this fight. All right. Next fight, Navajo Sterling, Ivan Erslan. Navajo Sterling is 6-0, and you got to start being careful with these guys. 2025 is the year that these guys are losing their O. 22 fighters have lost their undefeated record. The most recent, Daniel Marcos and Bo Nickel. We've seen every level lose it, though, like big stars. We've seen guys off the Contender Series like Austin Bashi. I mean, everybody is losing that undefeated record. There's only been a few that have kept it intact in their 2025 fights. But Navajo's a little bit different. He trains with killers. He's at City Kickboxing. He is massive for this division. 6'4", 79-inch reach, and he's built like a shit brick house. Going up against the guy here in Ivan Erslan, who is also built like a mother. I can't remember if I can cuss on YouTube or not, but he's built like a shit brick house as well. And the thing with Ivan Erslan, he came into the UFC in his debut, and he had a tough matchup, man. Ion Cutelaba, who we'll talk about in a little bit, is a buzzsaw. The guy comes at you. He's not going to stop throwing power shots. He's going to take you down, wear you down. And I thought Ivan Erslan kind of handled all that pretty well, all things considered. Yes, he lost the fight, split decision. Some people said he won the fight. I even had Ivan Erslan there, and I don't think he won. Ion Cutelaba, just was more damaging, looked a little bit better in that spot. But the thing here, man, if Navajo Sterling doesn't knock him out early, we've seen Navajo kind of slow down and get a little bit tired against Tuco Tokos. Tuco Tokos, I believe, took him down. Ivan Erslan isn't a wrestle-first type of fighter, but we saw it against Ion Cutelaba. If you make a mistake, he will wrap you up. He'll try to take your back and then drag you to the ground. And on the ground, he showed pretty decent skills, or enough to make me think that he could control Navajo if he gets on top. That's my big concern for Sterling here. My big concern for Ivan Erslan is that he just gets caught, because Sterling is a phenomenal kickboxer. He's very skilled. He's accurate. It's just sometimes, man, he doesn't let the hands go. He doesn't let them fly, at least in his last fight. Maybe it was debut jitters. Maybe it was all that. But now you're flying across the world to Canada to fight Ivan Erslan. Another guy who's traveling a little bit here. But I believe Erslan, let me see where he's training at. I believe it is American Top Team in Zagreb. So, he's with the Top Team style, that group of guys over there. I just don't know if he comes out here and wrestles, or if he tries to keep it at range, or what really to think of this fight. I just hate betting these undefeated fighters as massive favorites. A guy who's only 6-0 as well. I should touch on that. Like, the guy doesn't have that much experience before the UFC. It's not like he's fighting absolute killers. The guy in the Contender Series probably should have never been there. And Tuco Tokos is not a UFC-level fighter either that he got in his debut. This is going to be another spread bet for me. Ivan Erslan plus 3.5. So he just got to win one round on the judges' scorecards, because I do think he's tough enough to survive. I do think he has enough power to change momentum of fights. And I think if anybody has wrestling and grappling upside, it's Ivan Erslan. And if Sterling starts to get tired, this is going to be a closer fight than people think. So Ivan Erslan plus 3.5 spread. That's going to be my official play for this fight. You can find that on a ton of books now. That spread bet, it's starting to become way, way more popular, and way more books are starting to have it. So, all right. Next fight, Modestas Bukauskas, Ion Cutelaba. This is a tough one, man. This line is very, very close to even. You got two guys here that have struggled at the UFC level. Bukauskas was in the UFC once before, and then gets cut or released or whatever happened, and then he's back. And since he's back, he went over to Cage Warriors, first of all. And since he got back into the UFC, a win over Tyson Pedro, Zach Pauga, Marcin Prachnio, and Rafael Cerqueira. The only loss was the Vitor Petrino when he got caught in the second round. He's starting to get a little bit of finishing instincts. His last 2 fights, he submitted Marcin Prachnio late in the fight. In the next fight, knocks out Rafael Cerqueira early in round 1. Now, Ion Cutelaba, he was a guy who was that buzzsaw early in his career. He'd come out there, he was kill or be killed. Guys could finish him in the first round, or he was going to knock you out or submit you in the first round. But he kind of flipped this switch a little bit, and it kind of started with Felipe Lins in that loss by decision. He wasn't as aggressive, and he loses that fight, comes out against Ivan Erslan, not as aggressive, way more technical, and I kind of credit that to working with Extreme Couture and Eric Nixick and the boys up there, like getting some good coaching in. Ivo Aslan, he didn't really have to be aggressive. That takedown into RM triangle just kind of made its way into his lap, and he got the submission. But I do like the composure I've seen from him. He seems to be in a little bit better shape. Some of his fights are going to a decision where he doesn't look half bad late in the fight, where normally he would gas out. The only problem here with Modestas Bukauskas is this is a big-ass dude for the division who has good striking, who has good power, and has shown a little bit of grappling prowess too. Do I think it's as good as Ion? I don't really think so. A little cope in there. But I do think that, if Ion starts to get tired, I think Bukauskas can make him pay with the striking just based off the kicks, the body shots. And that's going to be the difference in this fight. Can Ion go out there and finish Bukauskas? Absolutely. I think that could happen in the first round and a half for sure. The only thing I do have noticed that Ion still does is when he does get a little tired, or he starts eating big shots, he will wrestle a little bit. And, he's not a bad wrestler. He's not the greatest wrestler. But Bukauskas, like I said, is a big, strong guy. He just showed he can get submissions when he fought Marcin Prachnio. He did it very late in the fight. I could see Ion, putting his head somewhere he's not supposed to be, in Bukauskas, big arms, big squeeze, trying to take the neck and find a finish that way. This is a super tough fight to call. Making a play on this fight has been tricky. I've been going back and forth on things. The under's at 1.5 at plus 120. I don't really like that because both these guys, have shown the ability to fight long. I kind of think this is underdog or pass in a way, but at the same time, the line's almost even, so it's hard to take a side there. I am going to side with Modestas Bukauskas. I like the size. I like the range. I like the kicks. If Ion Cutelaba can't really close the distance well and land those big shots he wants to, as the fight goes on, I think he could be in a little bit of trouble. Tiny bit better price on Bukauskas than in Ion, so that's what we're going to rock with. Give me Modestas Bukauskas minus 108. That's going to be the official pick for this fight. It's a tough one, though. It's not a super high confidence. I kind of like, here's a little sneaky prop that I'm going to put a video out on. Bukauskas round 2 or round 3 submission is like plus 3,500 for round 2 and plus 5,000 for round 3. He has a round 3 submission in the UFC. If Cutelaba does gas from all the grappling exchanges or just, makes one mistake grappling, Bukauskas could just find a squeeze and squeeze his head off till he taps or goes out. So that's a massive price. That's a massive number. It'd definitely be a sprinkle, but I do think it's possible that we could see something like that happen. All right, next fight, Jessica Andrade, Jasmine Jasudavicius. Jessica Andrade is a girl that if you stay at range with her and you let her close the distance, she's going to hit you with big shots. She's got big power. We've seen her beat a lot of girls in the UFC using that kind of game plan. Most recently was Mackenzie Dern, who she finished with the right hand back in 2023. Since then, she's 1-1, lost to Natalia Silva in her last fight, and then she beat Madrina Rodriguez by split decision in a very close fight. The problem here, Jessica Andrade, I think, is at the point in her career. She knows she's probably not fighting for titles. She is kind of floating around weight classes, going between 115 and 125. This fight is going to be up a weight class against a girl who is big, and Jasmine. Jasmine's 5'7". Andrade is 5'1". Where's Andrade struggled in her career? It's not when she's able to box and let her hands go. She can take a few punches on the feet. It's when she gets taken down and put on her back, which is, I think, what Jasmine's going to try to do this whole entire fight. Jasmine is kind of like a bulldog. Like, she'll strike with you. Her striking's getting better, but she likes to put you against the cage. She wants to drag you down on the ground and hit you with ground and pound, put her elbow in your face, put her hand over your mouth, just make it super dirty until you're ready to quit, until you eat too many elbows or she can find a submission. I do like Jasmine to win this fight, and I do like actually Jasmine to win this fight inside the distance. I think she could pull off the sub or the knockout, if I'm being honest. Probably not a clean knockout. It'll be more of a TKO. But again, we've seen Andrade finish plenty in the UFC. Jasmine has a couple of finishes. It usually happens from just those attritional takedowns, getting her opponents tired, just making it super nasty like I mentioned. I think that's what she does here. So I'm going to take Jasmine to win by knockout or submission at plus 170. That's the current line. Jessica Andrade can be hard to submit, but we've seen girls finish her. I just think at some point Jasmine's going to get on top. She's way bigger. She's way stronger. And if she gets into mount, I really think this is over. I think she's going to elbow her into oblivion, or she's going to find that submission. So give me Jasmine plus 170 inside the distance. That's the official play. And I kind of like the value on that play too. Should be a lot of fun. All right, next fight up, we're getting Mike Malott, Charles Radtke. The rivalry fight of the week, America versus Canada. And these guys don't really seem to care for each other too much. Charles Radtke already making waves in the media, talking trash on Canada and everybody he can. That's kind of Charles Radtke's MO. The guy likes to stir a little shit. He likes a little controversy. Is he a good fighter? I think he's a pretty good fighter. I think he's getting better as well. I think his left hook is deadly. I like the power that he has. And, I do like the fact that it's not that he's got durability issues, because, Carlos Prates, that knee to the body was nasty, probably puts a lot of people down. I think Charles Radtke's a guy that, likes a bloody, nasty fight. And Mike Malott is a guy who doesn't really. I mean, Mike Malott wants to keep it clean with the kickboxing. He's got great kicks. He's got good striking, good right hand. But Mike Malott, when he gets pressured, he kind of seems to, I don't want to say panic a little bit. He kind of panicked against Magny and he just gassed out late. But, Mike Malott, when he's backing up, isn't throwing as much volume. He seems a little more uncomfortable, whereas Charles Radtke's a guy who likes to march forward. We saw against Matthew Simmelsberger. He backed Simmelsberger up, hit him with a big left hand, followed up, finished the show. Against Blood Diamond, he put him up against the cage. He had him rocked, almost finished at one point. He likes to fight downhill. Mike Malott likes to keep the range and have a pretty fight. If Charles Radtke can just get inside and make this a dirty, nasty, brawl, I think he's going to have success. He's obviously got to be careful about getting clipped from Malott, because Malott is dangerous and very talented. But, the closer in range and up against the fence that Charles Radtke's fighting, I think the better off he's going to be. He's going to get in trouble when this fight's at range and he's getting his leg kicked off and his liver kicked. That's where he's going to be in trouble. I do think either guy is going to be live to finish the other. Let's see. Fight to go the distance is right now at is minus 210. And the other thing is, too, I think Malott could be live for a sub if he wants to take the fight to the ground. We've seen Radtke stuck on his back before, pre-UFC. I think he has the capabilities of getting submitted. So, yeah, I'm going to go with my first parlay piece of the night. I think this fight to end inside the distance, it's minus 210. I just think both guys have finishing upside, and both guys are very, very capable of getting finished. I mean, we saw Neil Magny finish Mike Malott after Malott gassed. I don't know how Malott's going to deal with the pressure fighting in Canada in front of his home crowd with a guy who wants to take his head off and is going to land some big shots. I don't know how Malott's going to respond. So, yeah, I'm betting finish rather than betting either guy. Fight not to go the distance, minus 210. That's going to be the pick. All right, next fight up is, are we already to, all right, yeah, we are. Benoit Saint-Denis, Kyle Petrolec. Kyle Petrolec's been in the UFC before, didn't pan out. I believe he went 0-2. Benoit Saint-Denis obviously got rushed a little bit to the top. He was looking good. He's a madman. Skill for skill. I don't know if Benoit Saint-Denis is the most skilled fighter in the world. I just think he's got heart. He will not stop coming forward. He can wrestle you a little bit, throws good kicks, has power. You got to really kill this guy to get him out of there. His eyes were swollen shut. He took an absolute beating from Renato Moicano. He was ready to fight, man. He was ready to go back in there. And I'm kind of glad they stopped the fight, because if they let Benoit continue and his eyes weren't that messed up, even though he got 10-8'd and almost finished, he was going to be coming to get his. Like, he's coming back to get his licks in. That's the type of fighter he is. And then, Dustin Poirier had to absolutely kill him to win that fight after Benoit Saint-Denis had some good moments in that first round. So, yeah, this is Benoit Saint-Denis all day. I actually don't really know what to do with this fight because he's minus 900. Nobody's playing that. He's minus 1,000. I would never give that line out. I think that is the dumbest thing to do. If you're looking to parlay that, just be careful because this is MMA at the end of the day, and that's not really going to do much for your parlays. So I think you just take a Benoit Saint-Denis inside the distance, see what the number is. You're going to get a little bit better than his money line, obviously. There's not many books that are putting that out. But yeah, we'll just call it that for the play. Like, this is a fight I think you just enjoy watching BSD do his thing. You don't need to have money on this one, but we'll take Benoit Saint-Denis by finish. That's the official play for this one. Just not a fight that you can do much with from the betting standpoint. All right, Alexa Grasso, Natalia Silva. Alexa Grasso, 16-4. She's got a lot of experience now. She has high-level experience, championship experience. She was the champ after she submitted Valentina Schevchenko and then went to a draw and then lost a unanimous decision where Valentina just beat the shit out of her. So, Alexa Grasso, normally when girls or guys become champion, they get better. It's a confidence booster, but I didn't really see that. Her best fight was definitely that submission win over Valentina. Before that, if she gets girls to the ground, she submitted Joanne Wood, but she's going to a decision with a lot of these chicks. And Natalia Silva is just the girl you don't want to go to a decision with because she's landing so much volume and so much damage. It's tough to sway the judges away from a striker who is landing some insane strikes. And I think that's what we're going to get in this fight. I don't think Alexa Grasso has a crazy wrestling pedigree to where she's going to be able to drag Natalia Silva down. I think Silva is athletic enough, strong enough to keep it on the feet. And there's just going to be a massive speed advantage for Natalia Silva. And I think Grasso is pretty hittable when they're at range. The one thing that could happen in this fight is Natalia Silva just slows down to all hell in the late second and third round, and then Grasso just gets one trip and then finds the neck. Like, that's how Grasso, I think, wins this fight. But more often than not, I think Natalia Silva probably keeps it standing and has enough energy to win at least 2 rounds on the scorecards. And Natalia Silva is sneaky with that striking enough to where she can find knockouts too at this level. Do I think she's going to knock out Grasso? I don't really see it right now. I mean, it's possible for sure. I mean, maybe you take something like that to get a little bit better of a number. But at the end of the day, I think this is a Natalia Silva by decision. Minus 150 is the number. That's what I'm going to go with. I think Grasso is tough enough. I think Silva is going to land enough damage and strikes to sway the judges. So, yeah, give me Natalia Silva by decision. Don't really like the number. I'm not super in love with this play whatsoever, so just be careful if you are playing it or just pass altogether. But, yeah, I just don't really have the guts to play Alexa Grasso right now because I do think she's going to be so outclassed on the feet. But I also, minus 150 is not a great number on a decision prop there, but that's what we're going to go with here. Because I do think more often than not, when Silva wins against Grasso, I do believe it's by decision. All right. Jose Aldo, Ayman Zahabi. This is interesting, man. Aldo, obviously a legend, 32-9. Hasn't looked bad recently. He just hasn't looked like vintage Aldo. I mean, split decision loss to Mario Batista. Couldn't get off the cage. That's what screwed him. If he was able to get off the cage, I firmly believe he was going to outland him in that last round and get his hand raised. I mean, he did it against Jonathan Martinez. He just outlanded him, hurt him a little bit late, just showed to have super clean boxing. Before that, he was out of the UFC, and he was boxing guys like, who was it? I can't even remember what his name. Esteban, so I can look. Somebody in boxing, along with Jeremy Stevens, which went to a draw. Before that, lost to Merab Dvalishvili, where he just got held against the cage for 15 minutes. Beats Rob Font decision, Pedro Munoz decision, Chito Vera decision. Before that, he's getting beat by Piotr Jan, Marlon Moraes, Alexander Volkanovski. So, he's fought nothing but the top guys in the UFC. He's just 37 going on 38, I believe, right? Or is he a little older than that? He's 38 going on 39 this September. Although used to be such a great leg kicker, and he'd mix in a couple takedowns here and there. We just don't see it anymore. He's like a pure boxer. Like, does he still throw decent volume? It's decent. It's not like overwhelming like it used to be. Like, he's going to a lot of very, very close decisions, win or lose, against guys. In Ayman Zahabi, is a guy who's coming on later in his career. And this is the biggest fight for Aiemann Zahabi in his career. He's in front of his home crowd in Canada. I mean, one thing I don't think Zahabi gets enough credit for is his striking defense. It doesn't look great. You know, he looks a little unathletic, but every shot is hitting off the arms. It's like why Pedro Munoz was like 18 of 60 or 70 strikes in that fight, or in a couple of those rounds through the first two, I believe. Like everything's bouncing off the guard. It's bouncing off the shoulders. It's hard to get to his chin. And, you know, his striking offensively, it's not sloppy. It's not lightning fast, but it's so effective. And eventually he just kind of breaks down guys to where he's pulling ahead a little bit. I just don't know if that happens here against Aldo. I mean, Aldo is just such a veteran and so damn good that even a guy like Aiemann Zahabi, you know, if Aiemann Zahabi was 30 years old and on this momentum, it'd be different. But Zahabi's pretty old too, man. He's 37 years old. It just... at this number, you know, plus 166 on Zahabi, I wish I could get like plus 200, plus 250, and I'd be way, way more comfortable. But at the end of the day, they're in Canada. This is going to be another one of my spread bets because I do think he can win one round convincingly against Jose Aldo, and I think at least the judges are going to be a little bit swayed in his favor. So yeah, give me Aiemann Zahabi plus 3.5 spread. All he has to do is win one round without getting finished. He wins the fight, we win. He loses 29-28 across the board, we win. Just don't get finished by Jose Aldo. I really don't think Jose Aldo has that finishing prowess that he used to back in the day at this point in his career either. So Aiemann Zahabi plus 3.5 spread. That's the official play for this one. All right, next up, Valentina Shevchenko, Manon Fiorot. Originally, man, I thought this kind of reminded me of Zhang Weili, Tatiana Suarez, where, you know, a champion is getting disrespected because she's a little bit older and there's an up-and-comer who's going to, you know, come and steal the belt. Plus money. And Valentina at plus money does seem appetizing, but in the same breath, man, Manon Fiorot is just the complete package, and she's shown that, man. Her striking's good, her volume's good, her kicks are very, very good. They're tiring. It wears girls down. Her movement, it makes her hard to hit. And if you want to go out there and wrestle her, good luck. I mean, Erin Blanchfield had zero success and, like, legitimately did not land a takedown. In fact, Manon Fiorot was the one who took her down. And if Valentina comes out here and is shooting wrestling or shooting takedowns and trying to use her wrestling to win, I think she's going to lose the fight. I think we're going to have to see a clean kickboxing match where Valentina Shevchenko either lands some really damaging shots to slow Manon down or, you know, just outpoints her. And then I go and I look at the stats, and Valentina Shevchenko is not really landing a ton of volume at range, whereas Manon Fiorot is. I mean, Manon Fiorot will put it on girls, and if she can stuff the takedowns, I think it's new. Like, I think Valentina Shevchenko is very, very close to retirement, whereas Manon Fiorot is just getting started and has serious aspirations of being the champion and being the champion for a while. Manon Fiorot's 12-1. Valentina's 24-8. Even though these girls are pretty similar age, Manon is very much younger in her mixed martial arts career compared to Valentina. So, yeah, the play here, I'm going to take Manon Fiorot at minus 135. I think she gets it done. I really do. I think that, you know, Valentina is going to have to be successful with the wrestling, which I don't think she has a great shot at doing. And if not, she's going to have to knock her out, which, again, I don't think she has a great shot of doing. I think this is Manon just kind of doing her thing, what she normally does, landing more volume, outstriking her, frustrating her, stuffing the takedowns, showing she's more physical, and ultimately she's going to get her hand raised in front of the French crowd for the French chick. The first French champion in the UFC would be Manon Fiorot. So there's a lot at stake for her. I think she's ready for it. Let's see what happens. All right. Main event. Jack Della Maddalena, Belal Muhammad. Belal Muhammad is now minus 180. He was over minus 200 a few days ago. That was a pretty high line. You know, coming back down to minus 180 is a little bit more correct. I even think it should be a little bit closer. Because I look at Belal throughout his career, just, you know, underdog, wins, and then he gets flipped to a minus 200 against the guy in Jack Della Maddalena, who's on like a 14-fight win streak, something ridiculous. I don't know if that's correct, but it's close to that. You know, that's wild. Maybe it's even, let me see. No, he's on a 17-fight win streak because he lost his two first pro fights, and then he's won the next 17, which is insane. What's Jack do well? He does damage. He rips the body. His boxing is very, very clean, some of the best in the division. What's Belal do well? He wrestles. He mixes in his striking with the takedowns, with the grappling, puts you against the cage, makes you tired, and he wins decisions. Is he going to be able to do that against Jack Della? Maybe for a while, yes. I do think there's going to be Belal Muhammad takedowns here. But Jack Della's, man, he's explosive. He gets back to his feet. He can look for submissions himself. He's just going to be a super, super tough guy to go out there and hold down. But at the same time, man, like, he was getting controlled by Gilbert and lost those first 2 rounds. I think Belal has more in the tank right now than Gilbert, especially in the wrestling department, to where Belal's going to get out to an early lead, and it's going to be Jack Della trying to play catch-up, and that's where I'm conflicted. Like, is he going to be able to play catch-up and win those last 3 rounds if he has to? I don't know, because we don't really see JDM in these 5-round fights, whereas we know Belal Muhammad can go all 25 and fight the same exact pace, the same exact way. And my other thing is, like, Belal's such a game planner and so high IQ that he's so hard to beat, man. He makes adjustments mid-fight. He'll exploit your weaknesses with the wrestling, which is going to be here. And he just sticks to that game plan. He doesn't let his ego get in the way. He doesn't let the crowd, sway his decisions on how he's going to fight. And that's what's got him to being the champion in these title fights. So do I think Belal Muhammad wins the fight? I think he's got a great chance. I don't really like the number at -180. If you're going to play a -180 on Belal, I just think it's tough. I want to say over 4.5 rounds. But, that's a long time to be in there with a guy like JDM, because if the game plan goes to shit for Belal and he can't get takedowns halfway through the fight, he's going to be getting beat to, shreds. He's going to be getting his body ripped up, and he's going to be eating big shots. And, not a lot of guys can take that power from Jack. But it is Belal Muhammad, tough to finish, not a big finisher. Over 4.5 rounds is -175. That's going to be the play. We're going to take the over. I do think it goes long. I think JDM's going to be patient. I think Belal is going to do what he can to kind of stall out and win minutes and win control. So, yeah, we're taking over 4.5 rounds, -175. It's kind of a square play, but I think it's a play that might cash. I like it better than the money line for Belal. So, yeah, give me that to cash. And that's the last fight on the card. UFC 315 Montreal. Appreciate all you guys watching. This is one bet for every single fight. I hope we come back with a lot of green check marks on this one as well. We've absolutely crushed it through the first 3 weeks. If we have a down week, don't worry about it. We will be back. We're going to cash so many bets over the course of this year. Some big bets are going to be hit. We gave out some plus money tonight. Again, man, if you want to get all of my premium bets, it's at winnable.com/HOFpicks. Code Canada, get all of them for free. Get Hey Jive Picks bets for free and get that free trial. Get into our Discord, chat with us during the fights. Direct access to me, him, Matty Betts, and the whole entire team at Home of Fight. Shout out to the sponsor of the show once again, BetUS, a sportsbook you can use in 49 of the 50 states. First deposit match to 150% when you use the code that's linked in my bio, and you're next to it 125%. But once again, I appreciate all you guys watching this show. It means a ton to me. Let's keep growing the channel. If you want to follow me on IG, at the parlay_MMA, at the parlay MMA on TikTok and X. Those are the platforms I'm on. I'm pumping out different content of this every single day. Go give it a follow. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to this channel. Drop a like, drop a comment. And one person who comments their favorite play of this card, I'm going to pick on Friday night, and I'll send you all of my premium bets absolutely free for this card. So once again, winnable.com/HOFpicks to get all of my bets. Use code Canada to get them for free. Thank you again for watching. Hit subscribe. I'll see you next week. We got so many fights to break down this summer, and we're going to be cashing a lot of winners. We'll see you next week.